Hello there. Welcome back to the Bible in a Year Live Tanakh Project. Today is week 15, day 6, and my name is Sharone Dennis. I'll be your reader today. Today, we're going to jump back into our story and we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. Solomon had completed the temple yesterday, and now the dedication is about to begin. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy as we listen to Solomon dedicate the temple to the Lord, and then we're also going to hear the Lord's response to him. 1 Kings chapter 8. Then Shlomo assembled all the leaders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes, and the chiefs of the paternal clans of the people of Israel, to King Shlomo in Jerusalem to bring the ark of the covenant of Adonai out of the city of David, also known as Zion. All the men of Israel assembled before King Shlomo at the festival in the month of Etaim, the 7th month. All the leaders of Israel came. The Kohanim took the ark and brought up the ark of Adonai, the tent of meeting, and all the holy utensils that were in the tent. These are what the Kohanim and the Levim brought up. King Shlomo and the whole community of Israel assembled in his presence were with him in front of the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen in numbers beyond counting or recording. The Kohanim brought the ark for the covenant of Adonai into its place inside the sanctuary of the house, to the especially holy place, under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place for the ark, covering the ark and its poles from above. The poles were so long that their ends could be seen from the holy place in front of the sanctuary, but they could not be seen from outside. They are there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put there at Horeb when Adonai made the covenant with the people of Israel at the time of their leaving the land of Egypt. When the Kohanim came out of the holy place, the cloud filled the house of Adonai, so that, because of the cloud, the Kohanim could not stand up to perform their service, for the glory of Adonai filled the house of Adonai. Shlomo said, Adonai said he would live in thick darkness, but I have built you a magnificent house, a place where you can live forever. Then the king turned around and blessed the whole community of Israel. The whole community of Israel stood as he said, Blessed be Adonai, the God of Israel, who spoke to my father David with his mouth and fulfilled his promise with his hand. He said, Since the day I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city from any of the tribes of Israel in which to build a house, so that my name might be there. But I did choose David to be over my people Israel. Now, it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of Adonai, the God of Israel. But Adonai said to David my father, Although it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Nevertheless, you will not build a house. Rather, you will father a son, and it will be he who will build the house for my name. Now Adonai has fulfilled the spoken word of his, for I have succeeded my father, and sit on the throne of Israel. As Adonai promised, I have built the house for the name of Adonai the God of Israel, and there I have made a place for the ark containing the covenant of Adonai, which he made with our ancestors when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Then Shlomo stood before the altar of Adonai in the presence of the whole community of Israel, spread out his hand toward heaven, and said, Adonai, God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above or on earth below. You kept covenant with your servants and show them grace, provided they live in your presence with all their heart. You have kept your promise to your servant David my father. You spoke with your mouth and fulfilled it with your hands, so it is today. Now therefore, Adonai, God of Israel, keep what you promised to your servant David my father, when you said, You will never lack a man in my presence to sit on the throne of Israel, if only your children are careful about what they do, so that they will live in my presence, just as you have lived in my presence. Now therefore, God of Israel, please let your word, which you spoke to your servant to David my father, be confirmed. But can God actually live on earth? Why, heaven itself, even the heaven of heavens, cannot contain you, so much less this house I have built. Even so, Adonai my God, pay attention to your servant's prayer and plea. Listen to the cry and prayer that your servant is praying before you today, that your eyes will be open toward this house night and day, toward the place concerning which you said, my name will be there, to listen to the prayer your servant will pray toward this place. Yes, listen to the plea of your servant, and also that of your people Israel when they pray toward this place. Hear in heaven where you live, and when you hear, forgive. If a person sins against a fellow member of the community, and he is made to swear under oath, and he comes and swears before your altar in this house, then hear in heaven, act, and judge your servants, condemning the wicked, so that his way of life devolves on his own head, and vindicating the one who is right, giving him what his righteousness deserves. When your people Israel sin against you, and in consequence are defeated by an enemy, then if they turn back to you, acknowledge your name, and pray and make their plea to you in this house, here in heaven, forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them back to the land you gave their ancestors. When they sin against you, and in consequence the sky is shut, so that there is no rain, then if they pray toward this place, acknowledge your name, and turn from their sin when you have brought them low, here in heaven, forgive the sin of your servants and of your people Israel, since you keep teaching them the good way by which they should live, and send down rain on your land, which you have given your people as their inheritance. If there is a famine in the land, or blight, windstorm, mildew, locust, or sharer worms, or if their enemy comes to the land and besieges them in any of their cities, no matter what kind of plague or sickness it is, then, regardless of what prayer or plea anyone among all your people Israel makes, for each individual will know what is plaguing his own conscience, and the person spreads out his hand toward this house, here in heaven where you live, and forgive and act. And since you know what is in each one's heart, give each person what his conduct deserves, because you and only you know all human hearts, so that they will fear you throughout the time they live in the land you gave our ancestors. Also, the foreigner who does not belong to your people Israel, when he comes from a distant country because of your reputation, for they will hear of your great reputation, your mighty hand, and your outstretched arm. When he comes and prays toward this house, then hear in heaven where you live, and act in accordance with everything about which the foreigner is calling to you, so that all the peoples of the earth will know your name and fear you, as does your people Israel, and so that they will know that this house which I have built bears your name. If your people go out to fight against their enemy, no matter by which way you send them, and they pray to Adonai toward the city you chose, toward the house I built for your name, then in heaven hear their prayer and plea, uphold their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no one who doesn't sin, and you are angry with them and hand them over to the enemy, so that they carry them off captive to the land of their enemy, whether far away or nearby, then if they come to their senses in the land where they have been carried away captive, turn back and make their plea to you in the land of those who carried them off captive, saying, we sinned, we acted wrongly, we behaved wickedly. If, in the land of their enemies who carried them off captive, they return to you with all their heart and being, and pray to you toward their own land, which you gave to their ancestors, toward the city you chose, and toward the house I have built for your name, then, in heaven where you live, hear their prayer and plea, uphold their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you. Forgive their transgressions which they have committed against you, and give them compassion in the sight of their captors, so that they will show compassion toward them. For they are your people, your inheritance, whom you brought out of Egypt, out of the flames of the iron furnace. May your eyes be open to the plea of your servant, and to the plea of your people Israel, so that you will hear them whenever they cry out to you. For you made a distinction between them and all the peoples of the earth by making them your inheritance, as you said through Moshe your servant, when you brought our ancestors out of Egypt, Adonai Elohim. When Shlomo had finished praying all this prayer and plea to Adonai, he got up from in front of the altar of Adonai, where he had been kneeling with his hands spread out toward heaven, stood up and raised his voice to bless the whole community of Israel. He said, Blessed be Adonai, who has given rest to his people Israel in accordance with everything he promised. Not one word has failed of his good promise, which he made through Moshe his servant. May Adonai our God be with us, as he was with our ancestors. May he never leave us or abandon us. In this way, he will incline our hearts toward him, so that we will live according to his ways and observe his mitzvahs, laws, and rulings which he ordered our fathers to obey. May these words of mine, which I have used in my plea before Adonai, be present with Adonai our God day and night, so that he will uphold the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel day by day. Then all the peoples of the earth will know that Adonai is God, there is no other. So be wholehearted with Adonai our God, living by his laws, observing his mitzvah, as you are doing today. Then the king, together with all Israel, offered sacrifices before Adonai. For the sacrifice of peace offerings which Shlomo offered to Adonai, he offered 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. Thus the king and all the people of Israel dedicated the house of Adonai. The same day, the king consecrated the center of the courtyard in front of the house of Adonai, because he had to offer the burnt offering, the grain offering, and the fat of the peace offerings there. For the bronze altar before Adonai was too small to receive the burnt offering, the grain offering, and the fat of the peace offerings. So Shlomo celebrated the festival at that time. All Israel, a huge gathering that had come all the way from the entrance of Hamath to the valley of Egypt, celebrated with him before Adonai our God for 7 days, and then for 7 more days, 14 days in all. On the 8th day he sent the people away. They blessed the king and returned to their tents full of joy and glad of heart for all the goodness Adonai had shown to David his servant and to Israel his people. Chapter 9. After Shlomo had finished building the house of Adonai, the royal palace, and everything else he wanted to build for himself, Adonai appeared to Shlomo a second time, as he had appeared to him in Givon. Adonai said to him, I have heard your prayer and your plea that you made before me. I am consecrating this house which you built and placing my name there forever. My eyes and heart will always be there. As for you, if you will live in my presence, as did David your father, in pureness of heart and uprightness, doing everything I have ordered you to do, and observing my laws and rulings, then I will establish the throne of your rulership over Israel forever, just as I promised David your father, when I said, you will never lack a man on the throne of Israel. But if you turn away from following me, you or your children, and do not observe my mitzvahs and regulations, which I have set before you, and go and serve other gods, worshipping them, then I will cut off Israel from the land I have given them. This house, which I consecrated for my name, I will eject from my sight, and Israel will become an example to avoid and an object of scorn among all peoples. This house, now so exalted, everyone passing by will gasp in shock at the sight of it and will ask, why has Adonai done this to this land and to this house? But the answer will be, it's because they abandoned Adonai their God, who brought their ancestors out of the land of Egypt and took hold of other gods, worshipping and serving them. This is why Adonai brought all these calamities on them. At the end of 20 years, during which time Shlomo had built the 2 buildings, the house of Adonai and the royal palace, King Shlomo gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galil. Recall that Hiram, the king of Tizor, had supplied Shlomo with cedar and cypress logs and with all the gold Shlomo wanted. Hiram came over from Tizor to see the cities Shlomo had given him, but he was not satisfied with them. He said, what kind of cities are these which you have given me, my brother? So they have been called the land of Kabul, good for nothing, till this day. Hiram had sent the king 4 tons of gold. Following is the account of the forced labor levied by King Shlomo for building the house of Adonai, his own palace, the Millo, the wall of Jerusalem, the cities of Hatzor, Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh king of Egypt had gone up, taken Gezer, burnt it to the ground, and killed the Canaanim living in the city. Then he had given it as a dowry for his daughter, Shlomo's wife. So Shlomo rebuilt Gezer. He also built Lower Beit Horon, Baalat, Tadmor in the desert, in the land, as well as all the cities that Shlomo had for storing supplies, the cities for his chariots, the cities for his horsemen, and the other buildings Shlomo wanted to build for himself in Jerusalem, in the Lebanon, and throughout the land he ruled. All the people still left from Emori, Hitti, Prizi, Hivi, and Yevusi, who were not a part of the people of Israel, that is, their descendants remaining after them in the land, whom the people of Israel were not able to destroy completely. From them, Shlomo levied his forced laborers, as it is to this day. But Shlomo did not raise any of his forced labor from the people of Israel. Rather, they were the soldiers, his servants, administrators, and commanders, and the officials in charge of his chariots and horsemen. There were 550 chief officers over Shlomo's work in charge of the workers. Pharaoh's daughter came up from the city of David to her house, which Shlomo had built for her after he built the Millo. 3 times a year, Shlomo offered burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar which he had built for Adonai, offering incense with them on the altar before Adonai. So he finished the house. King Shlomo built a fleet of ships in Etzion Geber, by Elot on the shore of the sea of Suf in the land of Edom. Hiram sent some of his own servants, experienced sailors, who understood the sea, to serve with Shlomo's servants. They went to Ophir and took from there gold, 14 tons of it, which they brought back to King Shlomo. This is the word of the Lord. We're going to pause here today, and tomorrow we will pick up back our story. Blessings.